Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Megan Nelson, aka Crypto Megan. And of course, we had to have on one of the top traders in the space, world-class trader and lead analyst for Capital Mindset, Trip, to guide us through exactly what is happening with Bitcoin right now as we're seemingly on the verge of either rolling over or going bullish again. And he's going to guide us through exactly where we're headed based on the charts and what to expect from here. We're going to go over Bitcoin in the short term, as well as specific dates and prices for this bull cycle, which you're going to find interesting, which nobody else is talking about. So stay tuned for that. We're also going to go over what this means for altcoins, and more importantly, the time, which seemingly is equally important in these measurements, which we'll go over with Trip as well, and two charts, which I know you are all going to love. You Theta OGs, we're going to go over the Theta chart and XRP. They're both looking pretty good. We're in a nice area now. And without further ado, Trip, welcome to the show.
Hey, Megan, thank you.
Yeah, it's always great to have you on, especially in these times of, nerves and tension and where are we going? I know there's the if you go on X, I mean, yesterday it felt like a lot of them were calling for the end of the bull run even. And today, I mean, the motions are wild in this space, right? So it's so helpful to have an analyst like you and all of the analysts that you guide within the Capital Mindset group to keep us up to date every second on what's going on. Also, news-wise, we're going to talk about the DOJ getting the clearance to sell that $6.5 billion Bitcoin. What's going on there? So, I mean, we're lucky to have you here because honestly, it really does calm the nerves to kind of zoom out and understand where we're at in the grand scheme of things. I'm like kind of perma bullish, long term, but let's go ahead and get into that then. And how are you feeling overall? What's your sentiment? What's going on over there?
Yeah, we're pretty neutral at the moment, so we want to see a little more price action information just before we start pulling the trigger. But at the same time, we're really close to a support level for Bitcoin, and a lot of these altcoins have also pulled back to their key support levels, maybe the 200 MA on higher time frames. So that could be the 8-hour, the 12-hour, 1 day, or even the 2-day 200 MA. So these are really good buying opportunities if we're anticipating another move higher. Otherwise, we're still going to be very careful and manage our risks just the same, because we're kind of at that point where it could go either way. We need to see what Bitcoin's going to do next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the Bitcoin 12-hour chart. And first thing we're looking at is this major support level that we're currently testing again. We've had a couple of touches, actually numerous touches on this support level so far, but we keep getting these wicks, and the bulls seem to be buying it back every time we've hit this support zone. So the key thing we want to see now is another bounce here and continuation to the upside, or we could have some bearish movement if this continues to the downside. So yeah, if we get a break to the downside, we're going to be using these fib levels as our next support. So the 382 is around 87,000. We have the 0.5 at about 80,000. And then the 0.618, which is the golden pocket, lines up very well with this previous top that we had over here at about 73,000. So that was back from March where we hit that top. So the 0.618 for this current retrace is lining up very well with this support range. So if we do get that bearish push to the downside, this would be the most expected place I'm pretty sure that most people will be looking at for the retrace to continue down to.
And that 618, what price target is that more or less? So people can, because sometimes it's hard to read here on YouTube.
Yeah, it's around 73.8. So you could say just 74-ish $1,000 for Bitcoin. So that's the bearish idea.
Interesting. And how likely, I mean, are we to go down to or to see those lower levels in such a bullish environment with the ETFs and the inflows? I mean, I know we've got the news looming, so we'll just bring that up really quickly. The DOJ was cleared to sell $6.5 billion worth of Bitcoin from the Silk Road. A lot of people are referencing Germany when they sold their Bitcoin off, and it had a price fluctuation from about, I believe it was at 70K, went down to 50K or something along those lines. What do you make of all that news right now and the bearishness? What is your kind of analysis on this?
Well, often you'll see that when we get down to a major support level, there'll be an extra sprinkling of FUD just to push the prices a little lower. It might be a liquidity grab idea just to get those wicks so they can buy those deeper prices. So it's kind of hard. And I think most of the problem with this news that happens when you're on support as opposed to getting these bearish ideas at the tops is that people might be a little hesitant to buy in because they don't really know or have much confidence in which direction the market could be going at that time.
Right. Yeah. And that causes a lot of panic selling and a lot of like emotional buying and selling, mainly selling at these levels, I feel. So, so the support level there, can you give us the range also in dollar terms?
Yeah, we're about 93. So 92 to 93 is the support that we're trying to hold currently. The recent move that we had down was like this is just in the past 24 hours, we tapped 91,400. So that's about as low as we go for now for this range. It hasn't put in a lower low yet as far as this whole range is concerned. So really, we just want to see a bounce here, just to at least have some confidence in the upwards momentum that should be coming. The higher time frames on the RSI, we had an extreme oversold conditions on very high time frames. I think it was the 1 hour went first, and then went all the way up to the 12 hour where we hit oversold conditions. So that oversold idea is mostly the bounce that we're getting at this moment. Usually, when you get that very extreme oversold conditions on the RSI, especially on the high time frames, that is just a refueling event for the next move higher.
Right. So as I'm looking at this, what would be your line in the sand where you say, okay, if it breaks below this level, we're going to be in a more longer term consolidation in the weeks to months? Or what would be
Yeah.
your analysis there?
We've seen before that if you get a nice move to the upside, like we've had currently, and you pull back to that support will usually last about the same amount of time as the top side consolidation. So if you were to measure in price, or sorry, measure in the timing, let's take out our date range tool. You could estimate that about this time, so 51 days, we've been around this top level. So if we got a move down to the bottom side, you could estimate that another 51 days would be to follow to consolidate along the bottom on the support if we got that move.
Which
The
would
line
put
in
us
this,
in the, right?
yeah, we're looking at about March 7th or so for that.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Um, the line in the sand, though, would be definitely if we broke below the support and came down here, that would be at about 52,000. I think then it would take much longer to consolidate to get out of this range. It's tough,
Right.
really, to say. Like, unless some news came in that all of a sudden pushed the price down, and then another news event came out and everybody started buying again, it could be a
Right.
very quick whipsaw kind of idea. But if
Right.
we were expecting a consolidation, yeah, I think if we push below that 0.618 level, that's 73,000, we would expect a longer bearish consolidation for the time being.
Right.
And that could be a few months.
Right. It seems highly unlikely, though, with all the bullish atmosphere at the moment, but it is something you have to consider in trading. So these charts are very helpful when you're mapping out kind of like if and or scenarios. So basically, if it breaks below, what would you say, 92K on the daily, and we have multiple candle closes below there, or what would be your kind of like
Yeah,
indicator
definitely.
if okay, we're going down from here.
Yeah, so around 93K would be that support level. But at the same time, falling wedges are going to have a descending price action. So you're going to get lower highs and lower lows. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go spiking down to the downside and it's just chaos and mayhem. So I have
Mhm.
another chart here to support the idea. So this is just back testing some of the recent patterns and the moves that we've had so far from Bitcoin. And this goes back to basically the beginning of the bull run, or the beginning of the uptrend, I should say, for Bitcoin. So that started at about November of 2022 and has been continuing upwards since then. So first off, we had a triangle pattern that broke higher, and then another bullish pennant about halfway through that pattern. And then as it kept climbing higher, this was the recent 6-month long falling wedge that we were sitting in. And some people would just call this whole thing a huge bull flag. So
Wow.
if you were to
Yeah.
measure the move of this bull flag to the next one, if this breaks out and continues, we could be going up to 145K for this measured move of the bigger flag here, the one that's in yellow. So
Wow.
previously, when we broke out of this triangle down here, we had a mid-range consolidation with this. It's a white symmetrical triangle, more of a bull pennant along the way. And up
Right.
here, this is what I was just talking about with the lower highs and lower lows. We could be forming a bullish flag in this area as our second mid-range consolidation idea. So we've been waiting for a breakout of this. This has a higher chance of breaking to the upside than it does to the downside. So technically, nothing has changed about the bullish idea for Bitcoin. If anything, it's just doing another bullish consolidation before it's ready to pop again.
Right. I mean, when you zoom out like this, it makes it a lot more digestible. It's kind of like I think that more people have to do this when they're kind of very like zoned in on, the hourly time frame. This really paints a different picture.
Yeah, you're just getting a lot of continuation patterns, and nothing
Right.
has changed about this idea yet. So I don't see a reason to panic. Maybe in the short term, yeah, you're going to get some red candles. Those are going to be, we could measure this as well. So the previous high, I think we went up to 108. So down to the low, oops, that's a time measurement. We'll do a price measurement. So from the 108,000 down to where we are now. So that was a 15% pullback so far. To some people, this may seem like, oh, that's it, the bull run's over. But like you were saying, once you zoom out, you're going to have these red pullbacks along the way, but they don't mean that it's the end of the world.
Right. And Bitcoin has had much deeper pullbacks during bull runs than 15%. I mean, we've had 30 to 40% pullbacks, right? Like, so
Right.
nothing out of
Yeah,
the ordinary.
this is mild, in my opinion. Normal price action. These are buying opportunities, right? So in
Right.
another month or so, we could look back and say, oh, remember when we were so scared about the DOJ and it turned out to be nothing? This
Right.
could be
Yeah.
another one of those
Yeah,
events.
or a quick wick down and then, bought up quickly because there's, institutions now wanting in. It's a different atmosphere for sure. One thing I do want to point out is that in the group, we're getting charts like this from Trip and all of the other amazing analysts. You're in, it feels like you're there 24/7 keeping us updated and in the know on all the charts, all the setups that are getting ready. And one thing I do want to let you guys know is this same indicator, or the same idea we have with an exact date measured out, right? So you've been able to kind of formulate specific time measurement tools for date and price to nail the time and the price together. And so we do have a specific date for when that potential 145,000 could happen. So very
Right.
cool. So do sign up to the Capital Mindset group. It is life-changing because you learn how to trade, you learn how to buy the bottoms of patterns, and you just stay in the know. I mean, so many people are there to be updated, to stay updated, to understand what's happening in the market so that, you can make more informed decisions. And the link is in the description below, and it is definitely time now to invest in learning how to do this, right? So when you have a mentor like Trip and like the ones in the group, it's not something to pass up on. And that is a very interesting tool that's been pretty accurate, right?
Yeah, the time measurements are interesting. Not many people pay attention to the timing, but once I started to break it down and I started measuring all the different previous bull cycles and how the swings work out, it seems like you can nail very accurately when the next change or the next move could be coming. And again, it's not a crystal ball; it doesn't always work, but
Right.
it adds that extra level of confluence when you see. For example, if you have a time measurement and a date and you're expecting something to happen, and then you can see on the charts that you're in a falling wedge, you got bullish divergence, maybe there's a double bottom. So then it's like, well, this is really shaping up to be a bullish move, and you have your timing coming right in front of it. So
Yeah.
again, it's just like, if you do it consistently enough, you'll start to be able to see a little further, and a little further down the road. So for
Right.
this move here, we have a date for about February 6th where we could be hitting the 145K level. So it could be a couple days before, maybe a couple days afterwards. But again, it's just more of we're trying to hone in a little closer to an exact date.
Okay. So you're lucky because Trip gave you the juice. Okay. The date is February 6th. I mean, that's wild. We're January 10th right now. It's people are even calling the end of the bull run. So something doesn't add up. And this is really interesting. I've not seen this kind of analysis or this thought from any other channel. All other channels are super bearish. I mean, it's interesting to have a different lens to look at, and like you said, confluence. It's not a crystal ball, but when you add all the factors together and you get those different confluences, it gives you an edge, right? Or some kind of way to formulate a thesis.
Definitely. It's in my opinion, the dates are used more by whale traders. And then retail is more focused on just the price movements, like the day-to-day prices, and they're stuck in that fear and greed state. The
Mm,
whales, they're looking at it from a much bigger perspective, and they're really looking at it like, when do I get in and when do I get out? Both of those questions are time-related questions. It's not what price do I buy in or what price do I sell at. So it's just a different way of looking at it.
interesting. So you got to get in the big leagues, guys. You got to join the big leagues.
Yeah, I also have this. This
Oh,
is a longer term chart for Bitcoin first, just to show the
okay.
comparison. So we've been tracking this idea that Bitcoin has been following the 2014 to 2017 cycle. So here's a side by side comparison. And again, this is using those time measurement tools. If you were to measure the downtrend in 2016, or sorry, the 2014 to 2017 run, the distance from the high to the low was 412 days for this downtrend. So if you extrapolated that out times three, you'd see that pretty much right near the end of that third cycle is when everything took off. We could even draw a horizontal resistance level here, and you can see exactly how close it was to nailing when the next change of the move was back in that
Wow.
previous cycle. So over
Yeah.
here on this side, on the current chart, we have a 380-day downtrend from this high to the low. We have the same yellow trend line from the previous cycle as we do here on this cycle. And now it looks like we're consolidating in that flag that we talked about in that previous chart, right in that same area. So it's not, again, it's not exactly precise. It's more of a window of time. So in my
Right.
opinion, if we continue following the 2014 to 2017 rally, we're pretty much right in that same area where it could be about to make its next move. And once it breaks this yellow trend line, that's when things start getting really exciting. So the trend line over here is at about 145,000, like we were just talking about. That could be the level that we make or break by the time we get there.
Right. So it could either be the one that kind of like we get rejected there, or if we break above, things get pretty explosive.
Right. Yeah. And even back here, you can see too, it took a couple of attempts to break that trend line. So maybe over here too, we might tap it once, pull back, tap it again, pull back, and then we take off. So these are just some ideas we can follow just because it's been really close to following the previous cycle so far. It's been a
Right.
very decent guide. I think back here, at this bottom, so this was in December of 2022, December, November, we were comparing it to this chunk of the price action from 2014 to 2016 or 2017. So
Right.
since we followed this idea, we actually had pretty much the same movement nailing the bottom. You had kind of an inverse head and shoulders here, same thing here, kind of an inverse head and shoulders, and then it takes off. So it's been our best guide so far.
It really does paint a picture, and it really helps with conviction when you zoom out like this. Honestly, it's kind of hard to deny how similar these charts look, and
Right.
what we could be gearing up for.
Yeah, I mean, it's a deflationary asset. It's supposed to go up all the time. There's constantly Bitcoin getting lost or sent to the wrong addresses. It just disappears. Whatever it is, it's just Bitcoin is constantly, uh, the scarcity is increasing, I should say,
Right.
rapidly. Every day, every week, every month, there's less and less and less of it. So this is really what's supposed to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like baked into the code, especially in the halving years, right? Because then it's even more scarce after the halving. And I know that like some days the ratio to Bitcoin available on exchanges versus the demand is getting pretty tight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is going to be pretty wild year, I think, with all the institutions, the countries now. I mean, it's going to be, in my opinion, a very bullish year. And this is just like for me, one of the last good entries, I believe. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It could be the last time we see Bitcoin under 100K for the next couple of weeks or so at the most. And then, yeah, that's like you were saying, the adoption rate is out of control right now. I think every other day I look and there's another country that's saying they're making a Bitcoin reserve. So
yeah,
you can just imagine there's going to be another funnel or a black hole of Bitcoin just disappearing into these reserves.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Good stuff. I like it.
yeah, we'll look at dominance next, though. This is a really simple chart. There's not a whole lot going on here, but we've been waiting for a pullback on dominance just to give us a better signal of when to trade altcoins. And every time we've had a little bit of a pullback, it seems like it's always managed to bounce back. And we've been dealing with this for a long time. So since basically April of 2023 was when we really started taking off in this range,
Right.
this rising channel. We've had some really good altcoin trades just on these red candle dips. So maybe you get a week or two of really good alt trading and then it's back up again, right? And then you get another couple of days of really good altcoin trading and then it goes back up again. So the most recent pump that we saw on altcoins was when we had these couple of candles. I know it's harder to see here. We'll zoom in a little bit. Just these two red candles alone That equated to 60 to 100%. Even some coins went up like 2 to 300% just in this tiny little window of time. So now that we can see we have overbought conditions on the RSI with bearish divergence. So you have a lower high here, and then a higher high here on the price action. And then on the RSI, you have a higher high and then a lower high on the RSI. So that's a bearish divergence. So this is a weekly bearish divergence. So even if we get, this move might not be the entire move. This could go into a downtrend from here for the next, maybe a couple of months, maybe the next year. We know that a weekly divergence, whether it's bullish or bearish, is usually a trend-changing idea. So this could be the beginning of where it starts for this downtrend for dominance.
Wow. I love all the confluence. Again, there's that word again. I mean, it just all kind of adds up, right? And like you said, if on that tiny little like speck on the radar there, we did a 2 to 3x in a lot of coins, imagine when that thing actually reverses and you get a downtrend. I mean, that's the life-changing gains there. So it's really it's important to get ready. I think is the message here.
Well, the best part about the downtrend coming on dominance, when it's extended for a couple of months at a time, like back here, so this was in December of 2020. So this huge move to the downside, you're not just holding one trade necessarily, right? So maybe you bought something at a penny and you did a 10x and you sold it at 10 cents, right? Really what we're looking for is how many times can you compound, right? So if you start with $1,000 and turn it into 10,000, can you turn that 10,000 again into another 10x? So that's what these opportunities are presenting themselves with, right?
Right.
You get many opportunities to get those multiple 10x returns. So you're compounding over and over with 10x each time. And we've heard about it. We all know that people say, oh, I made millions in crypto because of this.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's really quit their jobs. That downtrend right there.
Right. So this is what it would look like. And that's the scenario that we'd be expecting if this divergence was to keep moving the price lower from here. You just have a lot of opportunities to trade. So it's not just hold one coin to the moon. It's how many times can you flip that over and over again?
I did want to point that out too, because I know a lot of people are kind of set it and forget it traders, which is fine. I mean, that's also going to be a way to be extremely successful. In fact, a lot of people overtrade and then, can mess it up. But what you learn in the group is that compound, which is next level. So what you learn in the trading group is how to take your skills to the next level, right? How to kind of see things in a more cyclical manner in order to achieve that compound effect, which is
definitely
then, amazing. So.
Yeah. Like if you're in a coin and it goes up 500% and then you still have a target that's like maybe 20, 30, 40, 50% higher, it's like, why are you in a trade that can only go up another 50% from there when you've already made 500% when there's something else that could be just leaving its pattern or just breaking out with a 200% move in front of it still. So it doesn't really make sense to be holding on for that extra 50% when you have a potential 200 or 300% gain just waiting for you.
Right. So you roll it into something that's undervalued, that has a good setup. You're constantly posting them, especially in a bullish environment when the dominance is coming down. I mean, we nail the best setups in the group repeatedly, right? We've seen that this last little slump here. I mean, it looks so small, but it was so massive, as far as gains. So.
Yeah. Exactly. So we have a lot of pretty good news sources. We have a pretty good pulse on the market. Whenever there's a new trend that's emerging, we have a lot of admins that are really on top of all this stuff. So they'll send me ideas. They'll give me announcements. We're just really in tune with what's going on. So we catch most of the major trends as they're happening. Usually people will catch a trend when it's already too late and something's already shot up 500%. Mostly in the group, we can catch those moves before they happen.
Absolutely. No, 100%. I mean, it's really exciting. We're going to show you a few charts here coming up on a few of those setups. But first, let's have a look at Total 3. So what everyone wants to know is, what does this mean for my altcoins? What is happening with altcoins? When are they going to break out? So this is a little bit like telling time-wise as well, right?
Yeah, so this symmetrical triangle comes to an end, right? You have this apex at the end of it. So at the very tip, we're looking at about February 3rd or so, February 2nd maybe. So within this amount of time, we're looking for a reaction from total three. So this could go either way. A symmetrical triangle can break to the upside or it can break to the downside. It's about a 50-50 chance of one or the other. So if we were to break lower, we're looking for a major support retest of about say 800 billion for the total three market cap. So that's coming down from 950 to about 800 billion. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would be a great buying opportunity if that happened.
And what would be
Otherwise,
like the percentage average? I mean, I know you can't directly correlate it like that, but what would you say would be the average dip on some of these coins?
it could be 30 to 40%, but it really depends on how large the market caps are that are taking the biggest hit. So smaller caps, like total three is about 100. It's the top 125 coins, I think. So there's a higher market cap at the higher end. If those take a bigger hit, those might pull back, maybe 20%, but they would hit the market harder just because their market cap's bigger. So that could have a bigger effect on the total three chart. But the coins that are down near like 90th position or 100th position, they might not pull back very much at all in comparison. So it really depends.
Right.
It's hard to just say as a blanket term, this is how much to expect, as you were saying.
Right. But what it may be a good idea, I mean, evidently, is if it starts to break down and we confirm the breakdown, then people think about taking profits or, have their stops in place, et cetera.
Right. Yeah. It's a good tool to measure just to see the overall health of the altcoin market.
Right. No, absolutely. And for those who are, I know I have a lot of people on my channel who are set it and forget it. If we do get that bigger drawback, then if you got dry capital, obviously it's not financial advice, but that's would be an excellent buying opportunity around that range, which we can chart out here, which we do keep you updated on the group on the group. So, yeah, all things to keep in mind. This just gives you a greater edge and analysis and vision for your investment strategy, whatever that may be.
Right. Yeah. So we gave a lot of notice for this move back in December, on December 9th, actually. We had just tapped the resistance. I know it's hard to see in this screen on the smaller one, but it was just this level up here from going at the bottom. We started at 589 billion, ran up to 1.13 trillion. So it's almost it's about a 100% move, almost. So
Wow.
after we hit this roof, we gave a lot of notice saying this is the first decent pullback we've seen on the altcoins after hitting the resistance. Don't be surprised if we consolidate for a while. So this is exactly what we were expecting. So now we're trading within this tight range. A lot of the trades that we have in the group currently are more shorter term. Maybe we're just buying the bottom of the pattern and we're taking profit at resistance and looking for the next one.
Right. Absolutely. No, these tools are very, very helpful and the time frames as well. So yeah, for those of you who are stressed out, I mean, you could technically just check out for about a month and come back and things are going to be, this should be a bit more bullish than they are today. So this longer, like higher time frame analysis is very helpful for people who are stressing out right now.
Yeah, definitely. It always helps to look at the big picture. It also calms you down a little bit. If you're staring at the 1 hour or 15-minute charts all the time, it's going to stress you out. And it's meant to do that, right? You're looking at red candles every few hours. It's like, oh no. And then you're excited. And then it's, oh no. And you're excited again. So yeah, just take that stress off your shoulders and zoom out and just, take a more relaxed approach to it. If something
Put yourself in
changes.
Trip's hands.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
best de-stressing move you could do.
Right. Yeah. Focus on shorter term trades if you're more of a day trader or if you do swing trading during the week, just until this triangle is confirmed a break in either direction.
Great. So we got that time of the stream now. All you Theta OGs, we're going to show this chart again, give an update from where we last spoke, see what's going on with Theta now. And it's going to be a very bullish year, guys. Like, Theta just updated their roadmap. So I will update that in my group within Capital Mindset as well. And also Mitch Liu, the CEO and co-founder, he did announce at ThetaCon that they are looking to get a tier 1 US exchange listing. I know so many people have asked me how to buy Theta. So I'll leave a few links in the description. But yeah, super excited for this one. Trip, take it away.
Yeah, Theta, we've been watching it for a while, so we had a nice pump down from here. I think one of our entries that we had posted in group was the break above the 200 MA, and that led to this decent rally. If we measure this here, we'll pull out the price range tool. Just the break to this top, Yeah, that was 117% or so. So nice move so far. If you were able to sell up here, now you can start considering using those profits to roll back in to re-enter down on this local support. If you look on the left side over here, we had a few bounces over here. On this support level. So I would consider this support level to be fairly strong, at least for now.
Right.
My line in the sand for Theta, though, would be if you break back below the 200 MA, I might start getting a little worried. Sometimes those breaks below the 200 MA are very temporary in a bull market. So I don't know if I would pull the trigger immediately, but definitely something to keep an eye on is that 200 MA for local support currently.
Right.
But if you wanted to, you can start scaling back in on this support in anticipation for the next move higher. Otherwise, your key resistance is at about $3.82 for this cup and handle neckline. Once that level is broken, then we can start talking some of the crazy targets up to about $6 or $7 for Theta, at least
Right.
in the midterm. Long term, this could be a much bigger pattern. So there's a lot of structure here. So, maybe even go back test the all-time highs, and that'd be at about almost $16 again. So that could be, more of a bull run idea, but at least for now, midterm, these are the things we need to see before we consider anything bigger.
Right. And I know a lot of people, like I had a much higher target that we could possibly hit if all the bullish factors line up. But this is just adding some confluence based on the charts to give you an idea of where we could go kind of like midterm. And then once things go bananas, I mean, it's kind of hard to chart or to tell at that time. So yeah, I think we did do a longer term price range of like, I believe it landed around $25 to $30.
It was in
We
the
did a log
20s, yeah.
scale. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and then I even had a higher target for that if certain things pan out. So anyway, Theta is super bullish, really amazing chart, looking good. And then we've got one more for you. XRP. The XRP army is strong. I mean, this chart is looking pretty strong compared to the rest of them.
Yeah, definitely. So that whole pullback that we had on Bitcoin, where most of the altcoins shook themselves out, XRP really just consolidated. And it's still holding above the 4-hour 200. Maybe we had a couple dips below it, but really this very tight range is so small. So let's look at it for the price range. This is only a 5% range that it was working itself within during the whole chaos of the past couple of days during most of the altcoins selling off. So XRP definitely one to focus on. I think it still looks very strong. This is a bullish flag or a bull flag. We're looking at these fib extension levels as well. So the 1.272 is at about $2.47, and that seems to be the local roof. So if we break above this wedge, then I'd be looking for a break above the 1.272 next. So here's our buy the breakout. And this applies to either or. You can buy the break of the wedge or you can buy the break of this resistance. Once that's broken out, I'd be looking for a move to the 1.618. That's at about $3.11. And then the ultimate target, at least for this range, using these fibs, would be at about $3.83 at the 2.0 up here
Right.
for XRP.
Yeah. Which is around previous all time high, right?
Yeah, I think it was 386 or 387. Yeah, it's right in that area.
Right. And I believe evidently we're going to go much higher than that. I mean, this thing has been consolidating for years and years and been suppressed, I guess you could call it. I mean, it's kind of been really strange with all the regulatory uncertainty. And the CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple XRP, he just met with Trump, had dinner with Trump. So something's cooking there.
Right. Yeah, there's a recipe for big upside movement as far as the regulation goes and everything for XRP. It's still considered the banker's coin. It's going to be used for international payments. So it's already got its foot in the door in a major way. I think now that it's woken up, people are starting to pay attention more. There was definitely a period of time where people were like, oh, XRP doesn't do anything. It just sits there. Well, now you just can't say that anymore. It's leading the market, basically.
Right. They're calling it the Swift of the blockchain or something of that
Yeah,
sort.
Swift payments, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. I mean, there are so many setups like this that we are like keeping an eye on. The Trip is keeping us updated on it in the group. So do check it out. There is a preview channel so you can kind of see what it's all about. But this for me has been absolutely life-changing, and it just takes the stress off. And also a lot of people don't have time to chart things or or to be on top of things. And so, the updates are very, very helpful. So again, Trip, I just want to thank you for being on. I know the audience gets insane value from your charts and your analysis, and even more so within the group. So looking forward to reconvening with you to see, after we get maybe, a few before that date, but let's see where we're at by February 6th. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting time.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Whenever I have these dates plotted out, I'm equally as fascinated as other people are to see when they hit or if they hit, because it kind of
Right.
it makes it seem like it's all coordinated in a strange way, and it just adds a little more mystery to it, and it's a little fun. I just think
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, very exciting times indeed. Thanks again for coming on, and let's catch up again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you again.
Thank you.